Hey, welcome back to the channel. Finally getting back to work on the Ultracruiser. I know it's been several months, but it's been summertime. I've had a lot of other projects going on. And this is primarily a winter project, but I want to get back working on it. So you haven't missed anything. We're taking off right where I left off in the last video. We're working on this tail wheel assembly. We need to build the rod to steer the tail wheel. Now the plans gave you three different options. One was to take your 1/2 inch 4130 steel tubing, flatten the ends out, bend it, and bolt it to that. And that would work, but that just seems kind of crude. And you know, once you flatten that out, you don't have much thickness there, and so the bolt could potentially rock back and forth. I thought about leaving it not flattening it out and just putting the bolt straight through. That way it would have a lot more material to hold the bolt straight. But then I got to thinking that as the spring moves a little bit, that's going to be flexing these. So didn't want to do that. The other option was to take a piece of aluminum tubing this size, put some inserts in it, and use threaded rod ends. Now, while that would work good, the third option was to take 3/8 inch aluminum rod and do, instead of building inserts, just drill and tap the ends of this and then use your rod inserts. So that's what I'm going to do. The inserts will go there. We'll let everything pivot. Everything should move smoothly, give you some adjustment to get everything lined up. If I don't get it perfectly straight, once I start taxing it, I can make adjustments with this. So that's what we're going to do. First thing I did was take a little piece of welding filler rod and bend it up to mock this up. I wanted to make sure everything pivoted like it should, because this has to start out at an angle. When the wheel is straight, this will be at an angle like this. I wanted to make sure that it pivoted right. And that gets me pretty close on the measurements for the aluminum rod. So I'll compare the rod to this, cut it off, and then we'll go ahead and put it in the lathe, drill and tap the ends to hold the rod joints. Once we've got that done, we'll bend it, and I'm going to drill them and tap them pretty deep to make sure I've got enough room. If I need to cut them off a little bit to fit in here properly, I can. Okay, I got both ends drilled out, pretty much the full length of the drill bit. So now I'll start manually feeding that in there to make sure it taps nice and straight. And now I'll switch over to a tap handle. And by blowing the air across that like that, it creates a low pressure zone and kind of sucks those chips out of there. If you just blow it from the end, it'll just shove them farther, deeper down in the hole. That's as far as the tap will go. That should be good. If we need to cut it off and tap it a little deeper, we can. All right, we got the rod in the press here. I'd set up on blocks, little gap, piece of aluminum bar stock. I eyeballed it, figured out where I wanted to put the bend. So gently press it in. And go see what it looks like. That was actually pretty close. I've got it marked on the other side, on the other end. We'll put a little bend in it. See if we can't get it to meet in the middle. Now I gotta make sure to get the other end where the bends aren't offset. I'll go give that a look. And after a couple of bits of trial and error, a little more bending, and then trimmed a little bit off each end, and then, like I said, threaded it back down in there, thing looks pretty good. Got plenty of travel each direction. It's lined up with the tail spring like it's supposed to. So what I need to do now is line the rudder up with the tail wheel, and then that slides up against the bottom of the hinge. We need to drill a 3/16 hole through the tail wheel drive, and then get everything lined up and drill it on through the rudder drive so it locks it all together. I lined everything up, figured out where I wanted it, marked it, drilled a hole through here. So we'll put the rudder back on, we'll get this in place, and then when it's all lined up, we'll match drill through here. Since trying to drill that with that on the aircraft was going to be difficult, I marked both sides so I can slide this on, bring it up to the mark, drill through both sides. And that should get it plenty close that if I need to make a little bit of an adjustment, boy's got the control rod there. And there's the finished product. Got that bolted on there. Everything's just loose right now. I do need to trim these back just enough to get a jam nut on them, because it ended up being pretty much turned all the way in, but and it works good. Now on final assembly, I of course got to paint all that right there. I've got the tail spring painted, but I've got to paint that metal there. Once that's painted, I can rivet the drive plate onto the bottom of the rudder. And I also need, once it's fully, completely, exactly aligned like I want it, we'll drill an 1/8 inch hole through here and put in one of those steel cherry rivets, and that will fasten it up really solid. So I'm happy with that. All right, next video, I have no idea. I've got to actually go through my metal pile and see what I've got to work with. I need to get to building the horizontal stabilizer. I want to do that probably next. I also want to start working on the fairings for the wings. So one or the other. But I'm in the mood to work on it, so the video should be coming out a little more frequently now. Catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.